you. Yeah, that's great. For the benefit of Carla and Jason Jeanette, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Adam and Jill. Do you want some quick introductions from them?
Yeah, certainly. Jill, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I'm Jill O'Connor. I've been a VEIC and working with lighting since 2009. So I did a lot of work with Dan. He taught me quite a bit over the years when he was here. So it's always great to come back and work with him. And, you know, when he's working with programs at DLC, we were very involved with DLC throughout all that time and attended the conferences and everything. Always had a great time working with all of you folks. So yeah, we've still been focused very much on lighting the past few years and trying to get more and more controls and advanced controls into the state. So it's going to be great to work more with you guys and see where we can go with this and what information we'll be able to help our customers and everything. Certainly, and I work on the program side with the clients. And sorry, I'm still dealing with a cold, so I'm a little headspacey still. So I work a lot with the customers directly, as Adam does as well. So.
Certainly, and Jill and I, we work in the same department together. So I've been with Efficiency Vermont since 2010, first in the customer support department, and then in 2017 transitioned over to the engineering department, working directly with business customers, primarily on lighting, so adopting LED lighting controls, and work closely with Jason as well as his predecessor, Colin Santee. And yeah, certainly interested in learning more about either lessons learned from other folks adopting advanced systems. In Vermont, I know that a confluence of issues has kind of led to some customers straying away from adopting advanced network lighting control systems. So I know during the meetings of DLC past, some explanations for that across other efficiency programs has been things such as, cost, supply cost, labor costs, especially. So if there are, as Jason mentioned, as Jill noted as well, certainly open to hearing more.
Wonderful. Thanks to you both, all three of you. Curious, did Colin take a different role within DEIC, or did he leave?
Oh, geez, we should have said that at the beginning.
Yeah,
so Colin's right over there. So Colin's in the office. He accepted another position within the organization. So more along the program design side of things, not necessarily the day-to-day program management. So we should have mentioned that at the beginning. Colin Santee is still with the organization, just in a different role.
Yeah,
sorry
and
about that.
He's still very much involved in this process. Him and I have been working very closely together on designing what the sunset planning looks like and what the lighting 2.0 in 2027 will look like from here on out. So yeah, it's been great to have him still on board and around for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. So before I share some introductory slides on this implementation project, the control categories implementation project, would it be helpful? I don't want to assume that you all are familiar with the concept of controls categories. Would the sort of backstory and conceptual overview be helpful? Jason can do that if that'd be useful.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So this is a kind of abbreviated slide deck from a meeting a couple months ago, but I'll have that for you. So general concept, in order of luminaire, you have a long model number that corresponds to a whole bunch of options that are available with that particular product. But the question when it comes to controls is which part of this very long text string actually means controls and what does that mean? Right now, really the only way to figure that out is to go back to the spec sheet, and that is painful, particularly at scale. So we came up with this concept of controls categories to kind of bridge the gap between a model number and a utilities control savings factor at the like inside a program. And we're doing that with these two things called controls options tables and controls categories. 80% of the time, we hope that as a program, you will only have to deal with the controls categories. The controls options tables is how we collect the information from the manufacturers. But unless you're looking for a very specific thing like specific sensor technology, then you won't need to worry about those. Now, the way this is organized is controls options tables and the controls categories are a subset of a product ID on the QPL. So we are organizing the QPL the same way we always have, as far as which products correspond to a specific product ID. And then within that, we are adding the various controls options that are available within those. The goal here is to not blow up the list to millions and millions of products. So there are 7 controls categories in total. They start with control category 0, which is a product with no integral controls. So that's just a light with a driver on it, some kind of dimming interface. Category 1 is a product with what we're calling controls ready. So that's a product with a receptacle on board. Think of an area light with a 7-pin twist lock on top. The idea is that the installer can add controls on site before or after installation without extra materials. You don't need to open it up and wire it. You just add a thing in there. It's easy. Then controls category 2 is a product with a networked sensor or a networked controller on board, but that controller talks to a system that is not listed on our NLC QPL. 3A is a product with a single sensor function of occupancy or traffic sensing and no networking. 3A, single function of photocell or daylight. 4A, 2 sensor functions, occupancy or traffic and daylight or photocell. 4B, 2 sensor functions, so traffic or occupancy and a part night dim function. Then category 5 is a product with a networked controller that is on a system on our list. So we can say that this definitely works together. And category 6 is a product with 2 or more sensor functions and a network controller, otherwise known as LLLT or luminaire level lighting control. So that's kind of the full. Just to note that in version 6, for a product to be eligible for premium, it needs to fall in categories 1 through 6. So if there's no controls on it, not premium. This is a new thing for this this edition. And so what we've done is the idea is that these controls categories align with the various savings factors that are in TRMs based on control strategies. So on the left of this chart is occupancy sensing. This chart is from our study a few years ago that shows the various control savings factors achieved by certain strategies. So in this sense, the left column, occupancy sensing, in our study, the savings achieved was between 20 and 30%. The average was 25%. That would correspond to category 3, so a single sensor function. Then goes up as you go across all the way over to luminaire level lighting controls. That had a really large range of actual savings from our study, but an average of 58%. So the idea is in practice, and if you'll bear with me for a minute, I can show you a live demo of what the QPL is going to do. This is the first live demo ever, so if it fails, I'll switch back. But the idea is, in practice, you come to the QPL and you can search by a model number. You got to tell it it's a model number. And then the QPL will find the controls category, or the controls options code that is part of that model number string, and the controls category. I got to fix that. It should not be NA, and it's going to highlight the parts that it's found in there, as well as give us a confidence match for that record. So in this case, it is found that 100% of this text string is included in this record. It's connected to the controls options code PIR, which should be a category of 3A. I got to fix that. But thank you for being my test. Another example would be
Jason, just pause for a minute. So in this example, this could be either a contractor who's or distributor who's looking up a part number to confirm eligibility with a rebate, or on the EVT side, maybe it's the folks who are processing rebate applications. Is Melinda still leading that group? She is. Oh my gosh, she's wonderful. So maybe it's Melinda's team who's taking this model number that comes in from an invoice and verifying eligibility, and hopefully making that process easier because the control components, the options codes, are identified, associated with a category, and then internally, right, you could think of, you've got this lookup or a matrix that says, okay, for controls category 3A, I know that that's eligible for $30, whatever it is.
Yeah, so in that case, I presume you guys store a model number and a product ID now in that process?
Yeah, so are you wondering how we use the QPL, whether it's the product ID or the model number?
Yes, or both.
So I'll say I have the best success using the unique product ID that oftentimes manufacturers will list on their website, just because
it's a little difficult to find sometimes.
Exactly, that kind of yields the result right away, as opposed to using the model number.
Right. So one of our goals is to make that search better.
Okay.
So the model number search, make that a little more functional and less painful sometimes.
Yep.
And then layer on this controls portion of that.
Jason, could you do the same thing with a product ID? If Adam had a product ID, he popped it in here, would it?
So if you do it with the product
identify?
ID, you'll get, here, we can do that real quick. So if you search for a product ID, you'll get the record, but you won't get the specific controls category things.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see all of the categories available. So in this case, this particular product is available with like 7 different controls options. The categories here, it should show more categories, but we got a little bug, but it'll show all of the categories available with that product. The only way we can match a specific one is if we have the model number where a specific controls option has been chosen. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
Yep.
Let's try another example here. So similar thing, long complicated model number. And this has not returned the correct thing. I've got a bug. I'm presenting this publicly this afternoon, so I got to get that fixed. But thank you for being my test. So the idea is that we are returning the specific controls category and controls options code in the model number and the match confidence. And again, if you search for a product ID, you'll see all of the pieces. So that's the kind of overview of controls categories. And the question we're looking at is how can we help you guys implement that into your programs? And Dan's going to talk a little bit about that.
Thanks, Jason. Any questions for Jason before I pick it up?
One side comment actually is this functionality will also be available as an API. So initially it would just be the browser, but then in a few weeks it'll be available as an API, so that same search on a model number and then specific results back functionality will be there available, that you can be incorporated into your systems directly. Very cool.
Awesome. That was the first time I saw that live demo as well, and
Me too. I'm kidding.
maybe it's dorky to say something like that is exciting, but it's a long time coming, right? Because this problem that you or all utility programs face of looking up a product on the QPL and simply having a long list of capabilities without being able to quickly validate what is actually on that product, what is the customer purchased or installed, and associating that with the correct rebate and the correct savings. That's an exciting development, Jason, and look forward to seeing that go live. Not going live later today. I assume the demo is later today in your webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, awesome. So I'm gonna layer on just one piece of context for tying that all together to EVT, and then I'm going to talk about the implementation project. So if you can envision or you can imagine how this might be incorporated into the offerings that EVT has. So for an integrated sensor, the current offering is $40 or $50. $40, if I read this correctly, is for exterior. Yep. And $50 is for an interior fixture with integrated sensor, an integrated sensor of any type, I believe. So those codes that Jason was showing earlier could be included directly on information such as this web page or any materials that are shared with contractors or distributors to say things like, for the $50 rebate, it could be category 3A, 4A, or 6. Jason, check me on that. Did I get all of them correct? For interior occupancy, interior daylight, and LLLC.
Yeah. 3A, 4A, 6.
Great. And then the next test for me is for the exterior one, where it's $40, you would include a code of 4B. Or is it 3B? It's 4B. I got it.
4B would be part nighttime. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Oh, so actually it could be both 4A or 4B, because 4A. Yeah. Great. Anyway, so the point is, the codes can be used to advertise or market the eligibility externally to your customers, contractors, distributors, to help the selection process, help make that selection process easier for them. And then, of course, internally, that correlates to product eligibility, savings values, et cetera. So it's sort of this glue or common language that we hope would make the whole process of product selection, identification, rebate application, and verification easier. All right, so let's talk about why we're here today and this idea of controls category implementation. So we're working with just a handful of DLC member utilities. You're the third. Wisconsin Focus on Energy and Rhode Island Energy have already had their kickoff meetings. So you're the third. And what we're trying to do is collaborate with member utilities to, number one, provide some education and information about what this tool, what this resource is, just like what we're doing here, but also to collaborate on how you as a program can take this feature, integrate it into your programs, implement it externally, and then learn from it. So it's very much like a pilot where you all are, if you choose to move forward, are an early adopter of the controls categories, and DLC, working closely with you, helps guide you in that implementation journey and learns about your experience and is able to share that information with other DLC members. So we hope, or we anticipate, that it would be very much a two-way learning opportunity. From the program side, we hope it could expedite the process of implementing controls categories. And from DLC side, we hope to learn and share your experiences and best practices with other programs. At the end of the day, we're hoping that this lifts all boats faster by rather than introducing this feature and just hoping or expecting programs will adopt it. We're going through this hand-in-hand experience with a few programs, and we'll share that information out with other DLC members as a way to expedite the whole process. So the goals that you see there on the screen, I've just talked through. There's another piece here that is the scope. It's really working with you and any other relevant staff of the implementation team to identify the programs, the measures, and the pathways that you think this might be helpful at EBT, and at a pace that's appropriate for you. Quickly touch on some roles and responsibilities. On your side, it's really starts with collaboration, just like what we're doing here. And eventually, we might start to touch on it a little bit today, but probably we'll need another call to get into the details of sharing sharing the details of your existing programs and the program designs, and if and how controls categories could be helpful to those programs. It's been a while since I've worked on Efficiency Vermont programs, and so I can't say that I'm deeply familiar with what you all are doing or offering. So it's very much, we are very much going to rely on you and your team to provide those details of the programs and the measures. By engaging in these calls, it's not a commitment to move forward. You'd have an opportunity to consider what we've discussed, and at some point making a go no-go decision. And again, no obligation if you all decide that this isn't a great fit for you or Efficiency Vermont. That's perfectly fine. Every program is unique and different. But if you do decide to move forward, then it'll continue to be a collaboration and engagement between DLC and Efficiency Vermont, and ultimately, hopefully getting to a point where we can share some insights, lessons learned, etc. On our side, the DLC team commits to collaborating with you closely, performing an assessment of your programs and where we think controls categories could be incorporated, and we'll provide that in a list of recommendations and potential program improvements in order to incorporate the offering. And like I've already mentioned, facilitating that knowledge sharing across utilities. So the outcomes that we're striving for and the benefits that we think you would realize would be an expedited process to implement the control categories, shared understanding of how this works, and ultimately stronger collaboration. So those I think are EBT specific outcomes, and then more broadly to DLC members, increasing the member readiness to adopt control categories, and in documenting those best practices. Do any questions about that?
I do have two questions. The first is the timeline on this. So beginning to end.
Yeah, the real answer, Adam, is I don't know. This is very much we're doing it on the fly, and so Focus on Energy is farthest along. We've completed their assessment of programs. We sent them the list of recommendations, and that occurred over, Carla, how long have we been working with them? Maybe month and a half?
Month and a half, and probably about 3 times we met.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if they decide to move forward and adopt those recommendations, then we'll be offering to continue working with them or collaborating on actually putting it into practice. And so you can envision that being, several more weeks, if not months. What we told them in terms of a timeline is that 2026 is really a great opportunity to evaluate this, test it, put the pieces into place that would be necessary for a full launch on January 1 of 27. And so that might mean that internally you've got things like a TRM that might need some updates, other program eligibility components or guidelines that you follow internally. And you could use 2026 to put that information together and be ready for a 2027 external launch. It doesn't mean you have to wait until January of next year. If you feel ready and you have a process that you think would make sense to roll out prior to then, great. Going back to Focus on Energy, they have a what they call a lighting catalog. That is not always is not easy or quick to update, and so big marketing piece like that, they feel like it makes more sense to target the new program year of 2027. But if EVT doesn't have anything like that, and it's just a matter of updating the information on the website and communicating out that to the partners, well, then maybe you could or would want to launch sooner than 2027. So it's really whatever works well for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. The second question is the information that is gleaned from participating efficiency utilities. It sounds like that's going to be shared out to the wider member group of DLC. Is that right? Like other participating member utilities or other efficiency utilities who are not participating in this particular effort?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the hope, but to the extent there is information that is confidential, or you just, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable having that shared, we can absolutely follow your lead in terms of what can be shared and what can't be.
Yep. Wonderful. Yeah, we're thinking on the same wavelength, just with the potential of 3 participating efficiency utilities. It would be hard to anonymize the data. If, for example, if there was some piece of information that we were like, oh man, geez, we didn't realize that was going to be shared. So that's good information.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would like to add, so we will follow your lead, Adam.
Yep.
We definitely we will not share anything that Efficiency Vermont would not or cannot disclose. And just to give you a little overview, we do have this program planning working group that this is kind of a part of a branch out of the program planning working group, where we have about 21 utilities that are working together in different subjects, different strategies and best practices, and that came out of some challenges that they identified. So and during those conversations, everybody shared their programs wherever they could share, but it's part of the learning process, and that could be some sort of what we were envisioning to come and work with those utilities as part of their working group. And Jason has recently joined the group, so he's going to be part of that. Tomorrow we have our next meeting. We meet about every month and a half or so. So that's kind of the platform where we discuss with the other utilities. But definitely we will not share anything that you don't feel appropriate for us to share.
Great. Thank you.
Carla, thanks for bringing up the program planning working group, because I did want to mention that. That's great to hear that, Jason, you're going to participate in that, and hopefully you're available to attend tomorrow. Tomorrow's topic is it's not directly related to controls categories, but it is something that is I guess closely related. We're going to be looking at the experience that Rhode Island Energy had with luminaire level lighting controls being offered through their midstream program, in terms of what measures they offered, how they marketed it, and what kind of results they saw, and then we're going to have a structured dialogue or conversation among all programs for an opportunity for folks to share their experience. So I know that, well, I shouldn't say that. My understanding is that luminaire level lighting controls is not available in the Efficiency Vermont midstream program. And actually, I don't even know if you have any measures still offered midstream. That would be helpful to understand.
So correct, yeah. So our midstream programs ended January 1, 2024 as a result of the ban on linear fluorescent lighting. Okay. So our ability to support those needed to have a very big paradigm shift. So everything now is evaluated custom with respect to interior lighting applications. For exterior lighting, we do have, it's not midstream, and I don't know what the right word is. It's a rebate form. There we go. But I don't know whether that's called like upstream,
prescriptive or downstream.
Prescriptive,
Yeah,
downstream. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we do provide incentives on the commercial lighting rebate form for occupancy sensors, for interior applications, but they're not integrated into the unit itself because that just makes it a little bit complicated to be able to, and also for exterior lighting. And actually, I misspoke there. We do currently have on the commercial lighting rebate form, I think we do have incentive support for interior lighting applications where it's integrated into the fixture. We just cannot offer incentives on the fixture itself for interior lighting applications. For evaluating incentive support for the fixture itself needs to be custom. That's all as a consequence, unintended consequence of that ban that went into effect.
Oh, I see. So to be able to show that that you're incentivizing the sensor and not the fixture, it's got to go through this other path.
Correct. Yeah. So, and that's, and essentially Jan 1, 2024 is when our midstream program went away because our ability to claim savings as market opportunities was we were no longer able to claim those savings because folks could no longer purchase 4-foot linear fluorescent lamps.
Yeah.
So in the abstract, would being able to have this third-party connection between a model number and a fixture-mounted control capability, would that enable you to come back to make a downstream or midstream program model for this, do you think?
That's something I think we'd have to figure out with the rest of our programming.
That's a goal to try to get there.
That's been a big point of conversation for us over the last couple of weeks is like, how do we address that delivery process? And one of the things we talked about as a team the other day is like shifting to a more prescriptive approach or creating a different custom approach based on quantity or technology. And so, yeah, that is actually perfect timing. And it brought up a question for me as well. If other conversations you've been having on this, have they favored a certain implementation pathway for this, or is it kind of up in the air still?
Well,
go ahead.
For integrated controls, you still see a variety of pathways, and of course, some states aren't dealing with the same type of mercury law or mercury ban that Vermont has, but a number of states do have the same law. Rhode Island is one of those, and they've taken a different approach where working with their evaluators gained approval to continue claiming savings for retrofit applications, and actually have been able to maintain the measures in their midstream program, and claiming just less savings based on an assumption that a certain percentage, I'd have to look it up, I forget what it is, but they assume a certain percentage of the participation through midstream is retrofit. And so they claim the savings based on that percentage and then take the hit on the other percentage that is, customers replacing lighting at end of life or time of failure. And those types of projects aren't eligible for any savings, and so they just calculate a blended average and claim savings through their midstream program. But they maintain their midstream program all along, and so I understand Adam's comment that it would be quite a paradigm shift to, you all have had midstream turned off, for lack of a better word, term, for 2 years, to now turn around and re-enable it is not a small feat. And so I recognize that.
Right.
One thing I was wondering is, because first of all, Adam had the same question I did with the timeline, but will DLC have a short, handout explaining the different categories that we would be able to attach right to our website so that contractors could see, okay, category A is, category 1 is this, this type of control. Category 6 is basically, it sounds like the full network lighting control system that we typically would want to get a lot more detailed about, and kind of explaining out all those. So not only can we link it to our site, but help us build a program around so that it's easy for contractors to say, okay, yeah, this fixture here falls into category 3. I know I'm going to get this, or I only want to look at these, or whatever.
We don't have something like that planned, but that's a great idea.
Okay.
Right now, our messaging around controls categories is really focused on programs, but a more like a distributor contractor focused documentation. It's a great idea. Let me work on that.
And Jill, there's also what we've had discussions with others related to what your question is an opportunity to update the program specific information to incorporate controls categories.
Yeah.
And likely with some explanatory text. We can't just slap a 3A on a rebate form and expect people to know what that means.
Right.
So there would need to be some explanatory text, but ultimately using existing marketing material or updating it and using that as both an education tool and a way to streamline product identification selection.
Yeah, because I definitely think that would be helpful. Thinking of some of the contractors that work across state lines, or for some of the large corporations across country line, across the country. Kind of now that we've got kind of a category that things would fall into, we can actually all be on the same sort of playing page, hopefully, of this is considered this is considered that, and not be like, well, this one, New Hampshire calls it this, Rhode Island calls it that, and we call it this.
Exactly.
Out of curiosity, just looking at the TRM, I don't see any network controls measures.
Yep.
What has your experience been with network controls, incentivizing those in the past?
Those we do limited amount of projects. Most of the projects we get are the customers are putting in an integrated sensor and basically doing the set it and forget it type process. So the ones that are digging into those are definitely full custom programs We, talk with the lighting designer that's installing it, working with getting, what are you doing for high-end trim? What are you doing for timeouts? What are we doing? What are we estimating for savings? And we're doing custom calculations, reviewing what the additional savings from those controls is going to be, and then basing our incentive kind of on that, based on the dollars per megawatt hour that they're saving, and kind of where we're going, and seeing what we can do. We haven't seen as many of those as we would like, but there are a few out there. And the ones that we have had some decent savings. There's been a few that the biggest issue they seem to have is if they have issues in a year or two, getting the follow-up help
ongoing
from
maintenance.
Yeah, that seems to be the biggest kind of roadblock.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we even ran into it when we were doing it in our building. We had the first group that we looked at, just all of a sudden it was like, sold and bought and and so it was like, okay, wait a minute, no. now what are we doing here? Just the way the controls is going and has been going.
Right. Is that an area you'd be interested in growing? And
We'd like to.
scaling?
It is hard because we do deal with smaller buildings in general, than a lot of these other areas. I mean, I think the tallest building in the state is 10 stories in Burlington. So most of the quote unquote big office spaces are in Burlington, which is not part of our program. The one town that's not part of our programs. So that does kind of limit where some of these control systems, where they make most economic sense, go in. Where we keep
Right.
trying to make headway with some of the big property management companies, and then putting those in their big office buildings, and that's been kind of a bit of a battle, depending on who it is and which person you're talking to, whether or not they want to do these. And we keep trying to promote the nice thing about these is the fact that when your tenant moves out, your new tenant, you can change the lights easy and what they want, but
Right.
Yeah, and
until
for a
they
little
really
bit
see it.
for a little bit of historical context, Jason, so a few years ago, Jill, and also probably Dan, this may have been shortly after you left or while you were still here, I can't remember, but Jill, it was yourself and Lauren developed kind of a structured custom offering, so not midstream, but for structured custom offering for luminaire level lighting controls to really, or fixtures with luminaire level lighting controls, to be able to try and scale up that offering. And one of the things that we found is that, well, long story short, we didn't see much uptake on that. It was a lot of really great work done by Jill and others to be able to set up the structured custom offering to be able to roll out to folks. And what we found, or at least from my experience, has been that when customers are wanting to kind of go to that level of lighting control system, generally they need more than what our current prescriptive offerings are, or no, what our current midstream offerings are able to offer. So in that regard, internally, it's better evaluated as on a one-to-one basis, as opposed to trying to provide a large scale offering that only, at that time, a small number of folks utilized. Another thing moving forward that we're coming up against is, as of next year, our ability to support interior lighting is going to look very different. Main reason being is because we're, we have performance periods, and our current performance period is ending at the end of this year, where we evaluate all interior lighting upgrades as needs to be retrofit projects. So that's, the fixture itself, as well as the occupancy, as well as any controls. Next year, it's going to be shifting a bit. We're still in the process of figuring out exactly what the shift is going to be, but a lot of the measures that we currently support are going to be different. So it's going to be in flux.
Great. So there's just a couple developments kind of market-wise to let you know about the controlled world. In general, the cost of NLCs has come down a lot. Many systems use Bluetooth chips now, which there are like billions of them in the market, so they're very cheap. So that cost has come down, so that they are relevant for more smaller buildings now than they were even just like 3 or 5 years ago. And secondly, there's a new standard came out about a year ago for NLC configuration reports. So this is a standardized configuration report generated by a system in both PDF and CSV formats that reports on how the controls in a specific space type in a building were programmed. So it'll report back things like high-end trim and whether occupant sensing is turned on or daylight sensing is turned on and what the timeout is and how many watts are associated with each of those strategies. That standard is published. There are currently no systems that can generate the report right now, but I know that 3 manufacturers have confirmed to me that they're working on it, and they're in a bit of a race to be the first to market on that. And Focus on Energy in Wisconsin is offering an incentive this year for those reports already. So the goal there is to kind of close the loop on the back end so that when after a system is installed, we can get a standardized report of how that system was programmed that the programs can then use in their evaluations to back up their savings claims for a specific project.
That would be awesome because that's definitely for the network lighting control. The big systems. That's been what we've been trying to gather. That was, as Adam was talking about, with one of the programs Lauren and I had worked on. That was the big thing. Was okay. We know we could talk about this is what the plan was. Now we need to have a report that shows us the data to do this. And some systems could do it. Some systems obviously couldn't do it as well. So that's kind of, we definitely very much ran those on a custom basis. We ran it so that they would get paid so much of the incentive, when they installed everything. Basically, we would pay for the full cost of the light fixture rebate. And then we broke the controls portion, we broke it out so that they would get 1/3 paid. Then in a few months, we would ask them to run the report, kind of, making sure they could remember how to get into that. We'd pay them a little bit there when they sent us that report. And then 6 months later, after they've had it installed for a while, it's been running, we can really see where it is, have us send the final report. We'd send them the final third. And then this way we could, verify were things running the way we were, is there unexpected errors that are popping up, kind of making sure we can kind of double check everything. We definitely didn't have a huge uptake on that. Like I said, folks really seem to like, we're going to put in these controls. They do high-end trim and, occupancy sensing. And, I know I'm going to get I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, the $40 incentive for that integrated sensor. Boom, cool, great. Off we go. And I don't have to write up a scope of how we're doing this and everything. And here's, we do the inspection. We take, usually they're programmed on their cell phones, and we take a picture of that cell phone with the settings and kind of be like, yep, on the average, you're, saving 30%, and just kind of clean that TRM average of here it is.
Yeah, the goal is to replace those screenshots from cell phones with something more substantial.
A little, yeah, which we definitely, it makes it so much easier for us when we're getting evaluated by the evaluators that, we can really say, this is real-time data. We don't need to do metering. Here is your metering. It makes life easier.
Yeah, in terms of the TRM, Jill, have you all had any conversations with Sam about incorporating the NLC and LLLC measures that he has in the Illinois TRM? Have you considered adopting those or incorporating those into the EVT TRM?
that was kind of part of we had a big conversation the other week about kind of like where everything is going in lighting and doing all that stuff. So that was definitely one of the areas we wanted to kind of look at. Now we're really relooking, okay, how is this going to be able to be done? Right now we're still using the same, 24% occupancy, 38% with, dual and going from there. On the prescriptive side, we still claim everything on the base at the 24% unless we know otherwise. Just because we did have contractors that when we offered separate incentive levels for if it was a single occupancy sensor or a single daylight sensor or a dual, and they had different dollar amounts associated with them for the rebate. We had some folks that took advantage of putting in dual sensors in areas that didn't need them because there was literally no windows in the space, but they wanted that higher incentive and it cost the same.
Yeah.
So
interior corridor with daylight dimming.
A hockey rink.
Oh my gosh.
So we had, fun areas like that, like you said, closets, hockey rink, big warehouse. It was like, okay, we get it, but we also know. So we did kind of start using just the basic, more conservative claims for quite a while and that we, a lot of people too, even if you put in a daylight sensor, even if you're a big open space, some of the lights are not going to receive that setting. So instead of having to we have, a big open office and there's 100 lights in there and we know 35 are by a window, instead of having to do two measures, they would just do the one at our entry point and just say, yeah, on the average, they're at least going to save 24%. Boom, done. So it would be nice to be able to get some of this updated.
Yeah, great. Well, we are almost out of time. Carla, I'm going to highlight a couple of next steps and then I'll let you wrap us up. I think what makes the most sense at this point is for you all to have a discussion internally about whether or not this idea of working with DLC on an implementation project makes sense. Is it something you're interested in? Do you have any questions or concerns? And then come back to us. And if the answer is this sounds like something we want to proceed with, then we'll have some more meetings and likely some exchange of information via email, trying to dig a little bit deeper into the program offerings and how the different measures are advertised externally and processed internally for rebate and savings. And that assessment will help inform our recommendation for the ways that controls categories could be incorporated into EBT programs.
I love that. That sounds fantastic. And this has been super helpful. But the ideas are flowing and it's directly in line with the conversations we've been having as a team. So yeah, greatly appreciate that. And we'll get together and have that conversation and get back to you as quickly as possible because we got to move somewhat quickly with this one. Like I mentioned before, we have the eval on this program coming up and we're designing what those recommendations for program adaptation should be. And that'll be, brought to leadership for a go, no-go decision. So this is, I think, directly in line with that conversation. So yeah, thank you so much for this. This has been fantastic.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.
Jason,
Yeah.
Are you able to share a timeline on that go, no-go decision? Like what's your deadline there?
Yeah, that'll come early June, mid-June around then is kind of what we're looking at for the leadership decisions to come out. So in the meantime, we're working on communication plans for sunsetting the existing measures like we're talking about. And then all of this work that we're doing up until then will inform what that conversation with leadership is going to look like and what decisions that they're ultimately going to make. And then the rest of the year will be spent, planning for those program changes.
Great. So if you guys move ahead, we're talking about 3 to 4 weeks. Get this done.
I wouldn't say get it done, but definitely have
for our
more,
involvement.
yes,
The plan.
have a clearer plan on
Understand.
how we can continue to work together or not.
That's excellent. I'll say I'm good with that timeline and totally available to support you guys.
Awesome.
And I
Thank you.
just want
Thank
to
you for your
say
time.
to DLC Jason, I love the new look of the QPL listing and having that called
Oh,
out
thank you.
with the control type. That I think is going to be really nice. I'm always thinking of it as from the non-lighting energy consultants here trying to find things, and anything that can make it easier for them to find things on there is a lifesaver to poor Adam and I. Who get tagged with, can you help me find this?
Excellent. Thank you. That's our goal. So I love it.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, everyone, and we look forward to hearing from you. And we're here. Any questions, just let us know, and we'll be in touch. So have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
too.
Yeah, and see y'all tomorrow during the
See you
session.
later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.